connected.
Hello, everybody. Paul, nice to see you. I can't see you, but there you are. Uh, what did they say? Different strokes for different folks. Yeah. So uh, this stroke may be different, but it doesn't mean it's anti or for anything. It's just some people may want to take the slacker way, which is no way, and find that they're okay now without going through the odyssey of getting okay, or because as soon as you think you achieved okayness, you also believe you can lose okayness. So therefore, that ain't okay, my feeling. So I want to see, what happened with me is like there was another floor the elevator could go to. There was like a -0 floor, which took away any need for the elevator, to tell you the truth, because everything I thought was on the 8th floor was there. Everything I thought I was going to leave was there. It was just, it became the last answer for me. And what preceded that answer, and it did not amplify it, what preceded that answer was a lot of seeking. What came after that answer was no seeking. Yeah, there was seeking, but for seeking things I could actually find, like a pair of pants or a coffee or a date or something like that. My wallet, keys, but I wasn't looking for what can't be found and never have ever since. So to me, personally, impersonally, this was the last answer. And that only came about through time. Yeah, it could have 3 days later, I could have bumped into a hybrid. Let's combine non-duality with extreme isometrics and fucking, but it didn't happen. I just sort of, the emperor was seen with no clothes and he didn't go shopping after that. It was basically just started living like that. And I don't know if it paid off or not, but I definitely lost a lot of interest in getting supremely better or, extremely radically connected and all like that. So I think I fit into the awakening together in some respects. And like I said, if a way is the way for you, you should be able to hear other ways. Yeah, I feel it should be it's not an either or. I'm just giving you another possibility, let's say, because one thing I like is possibilities. I don't like rigidity and because you know growth can become arthritic. Yes, it can become arthritic. So the idea that we're sharing is what's looking right now is what you're looking for, which if that really lands, there'll be there may still be a looking for it, but it won't be seen as you looking for what's looking. You'll be more emphasized in the what's looking at a you looking for what's looking. Yeah. So you'll see the you looking for what's looking from what's looking, not trying to arrive at what's looking through what you're not, but you will see there's no need to arrive by seeing what you're not as what you are. Yeah. So your address is here and the time is now. It's always the same case. No matter where the mail gets sent to, that's the fact, here and now. So I don't think I become more aware. Or let's say there's not more awareness. Maybe in this experience I can become more aware, but there's not more awareness. There's just awareness, yeah? It's not like we're increasing the infinite. It doesn't, I don't see it that way. So what became important with me was more about why being ourselves reality, which is the premise of non-duality, being ourselves reality, why are we looking for it? Yeah. That was pretty curious to me. So I saw that there was an activity rooted in the mental processes, and that activity, its move was whatever it comes in contact with, it takes advantage of it by claiming it. Yeah. So how does it claiming it? It doesn't claim the seeing and present itself as the seeing. It claims the seeing and infers a seer. Yeah, it's different. Yes. So the seeing, which is, I don't think there's a point where it starts or stops. It's just seeing. That seeing is going on. The the mental claiming isn't stating that it's seeing, it's stating it's the seer. So suddenly that which is verbing takes on the look of a noun, yes? And now the noun is presupposed by the mental activity to be before the seeing. So this crazy idea of being the seer could only come from the claiming of the seeing, and now it says it's doing all the seeing as the seer. You see? Now it just keeps riffing on this move. And we capture it in the title of selfing, yeah, which is a beautiful way of saying it, because you're not using self as a noun. You're describing self as an activity, selfing, yeah? So there's an activity of claiming, and that activity of claiming implies there's a one that's doing it or not doing it or being done to by it, yes? So a noun sort of gets sewn into the fabric of our existence without us knowing it, basically. And therefore, we lose the sense of life is happening, and we gain a mental sense that it's happening to me all the time, yeah? And I find that as a form of bondage to a mental idea. Now, is there anyone bound? No, but there's a bondage, yes. Yes, yeah. The beautiful thing is the claiming of the bondage implies there's one bound. This is how you still get stuck. But if you just see bondage with no bound, it's what the hell? Who cares, really? Yeah? I'm bonded. I'm not going anywhere anyway. So I'm not like, something's holding me back. Where? From what? Yeah? Hold me back. You're stopping my progress. Thank God, really. I look at it as a fucking angel from heaven. Please stop my progress so I can see what's freaking happening. How are you going to see when you're always moving? How are you going to see what's going on if you're always moving? Yeah? I was listening to a take on an old Dostoevsky, right? A great writer, Crime and Punishment and stuff. And even back then, in that time of Russia, there was all these groups about getting better. Yeah? Everyone was getting better. And he was talking about the futility of all that. Yes? This was from what? The 1800s. It was awesome. I was going through, I like the YouTubes of Dostoevsky, Kafka, these people, and I just went through it, and in 1 minute I heard exactly what I needed to hear. Jesus Christ, the same thing's happening now that was happening then. Yeah, same. People are constantly trying to get out of themselves without knowing they're trying to get out of what they're not, as what they're not. Yeah, we have it in recovery. The biggest net where everyone's caught in recovery is self trying to get out of self. Yeah? And the only way, even when it's revealed, it has an immunity to the revelation, because one aspect is called Paul. And to Paul, it makes total sense to try to get out of self, because self is the bondage. Self is what's driving me crazy. Self is what's not allowing me to have a relationship with another person. Self. So I want to get out of it, unbeknownst to the Paul, aka self, that it's selfing. Yeah? So selfing tries to get out of selfing, which begets more selfing, where your whole intent is to produce less selfing. So the exact opposite effect occurs. Yeah? Maybe I'm wrong. But that's how it was revealed to me. And I'm open for new revision, and I haven't had one in 20-something years. I'm open. Yeah. Has something changed? Is there anything new in non-duality in 2021? No, there isn't. It's a fact that you come up against. Bring in all your assumed facts and see which one's the last standing fact. Which one? Yeah? Which one withstands scrutiny? Non-duality or the story of me as a noun? Put them, let's see. I found most stuff, knowingly or not knowingly, is supporting the premise of being a thing that can become a better thing, where non-duality just stands in stark contrast to that. It just basically puts out a fact. There is not two. The sense of being a subject and an object at the same time isn't what's going on. It's an appearance in what's going on. And as a great Zen master, Huang Po, says, or said, he still keeps saying it to me, but said from the 1200s, whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. Now go to your head and see if your whole narration, not yours, the narration in one's head, is it based on that statement or the opposite statement? It's based on the opposite statement. The narrative in the head believes what's perceiving can be perceived, that it's a thing. Yeah? Now, if that isn't looked at, and then you try to correct everything else, that's going to loom as like the big elephant in the fucking temple, the big elephant in the meditation hall, the big elephant at the meetings. Yeah? We're not saying this is so because it doesn't matter. It's been so. It is so. What it needs to be is seen as you to see if this is what's going on. Can I be captured by the statement, I've been using the Buddha to seek the Buddha? Yeah, I'm using light to seek light. I'm using mind to seek mind. When you see you're not doing that, it can be fun. If you think it's you, it's super serious. Yeah? So, I don't know. That's what happened with me. I went to satsangs and I was left with something that was going on. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I was introduced to Ramana Maharshi. Actually, I had been introduced to him earlier. And I read some of his collected talks. And he said the same thing in a lot of different ways. And it always was prefaced with the greatest mystery, the problem. So I figured it was quite important in his take. And it was, hey, there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing. What is it being supposed to be? An existent thing. Yeah? So presupposing of a non-existent thing being an existent thing and wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. If that's the case, your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? Yeah? That wasn't a pause. That was like the longest stoplight I ever stopped at. A lot of shit ceased at that one. I'm guilty. I was caught. Yeah. Jesus. So, do I have to vanquish a non-existent thing? No. Do I have to struggle with it? No. Am I going to have to fight it in the future? No. It's non-existent. Yeah? Can I get salvation for the non-existent thing? But salvation, if it's based on a non-existent thing, it's inherently available now because it's a non-existent thing. Yeah? So maybe the salvation is from the non-existent thing, not for the non-existent thing. And maybe then salvation is inherently available with no thought or effort because it's a non-existent thing. That seems to be the impediment. Yes? Who knows? So maybe what I'm looking for with the eyes that can only see the future and never surmise exactly what's going on now, yes, maybe that which is that what that's looking is what I'm looking for, like right now. Yeah? And if that's the case, I lose interest in the looking for it. Yeah? And I gain interest in being it. Yeah? Not becoming it, because I can't do that. And I can't unbecome it either, but being it. And then I find no matter what I believed, it's been being itself this whole time. I can't believe it. Why would it go this way? Well, my little myopic view can't understand quite a lot. I just heard a lady before this talk about, I don't know. Well, yeah, yeah. It's not an acquired attribute. It's a sober assessment. You don't know shit, basically, because what's knowing is very myopic and very enclosed, and it can't think outside the box. It's impossible. So basically, if I rely on that failed system, I'm going to show the effects of what it looks like to rely on a failed system instead of getting the message of a failed system, which it's failed. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember I read a thing. I don't know if I said this here, but there was a beautiful Buddhist magazine called Tricycle when I was, whatever, the 90s, 80s, 90s. Used to like it, used to have it sent to me. And one day I was reading an op-ed from a famous Western meditation teacher. I didn't know who he is, but it was supposedly a famous meditation teacher. And he was telling about a phenomena he was having with all his old students. And what was the phenomena? They were all getting in touch with him and saying, hey, nothing's happened for 20 years. So, I mean, I just pulled the emergency brake on the spiritual bus and just fucking got off. Because these people did put a lot more effort and thought than I was ever gonna. And they just told me nothing fucking happened. So let's get off the bus. Yeah. do I think I'm the exception to the rule? That's that sense of terminal uniqueness that we don't have, but we live under that idea. Yeah. So I got off the bus, canceled my tricycle subscription. Yeah. And let's see what happens. And what happened was, I didn't. There was a loss of a huge amount of interest. I lost a lot of interest in the need to be liberated. I lost complete interest in that. Because something needs to be liberated, but I'm not that. Something needs salvation, but I'm not that non-existent thing that needs salvation. Yeah. So basically, I just found myself living like all day, sleep and awake. I mean, constantly, incessantly on. I never disappear. I'm here constantly. Before I wake up, after I wake up, during a sleep, during waking up. Yeah, yeah. So maybe one of you or none of you, or maybe down the road, one of you will get sick and tired of being healthy and well, with constantly needing to progress in that healthier. I've got to get healthier and weller. Who says that? Yeah? Isn't there a level of enough that you'd be happy with? Like, hey, I'm traveling lighter. I'm not taking shit too seriously anymore. Yeah, yeah. Call off the race. I mean, seriously. I mean, I just want everyone, there is an option. You're not going to get punished, if you've had enough. You're not. Some people, I get introduced to other groups, and usually only for one time, and then we go our ways. But there's one, they brought me in, and there was a living place, and this lady that was a patient of these people, she was like, "Oh, I went to the cliff, but I chickened out." And I said, "There'll be many fucking cliffs, just chill out. You didn't miss the big moment. You know what I mean? There was so much pressure, and she just didn't fucking want to go. What the hell? Who cares? Yeah. No, you've got to push through. Who says that? Yeah. You don't have to push through. You can surrender. You can just give up and say, listen, I don't got it in me. I already have hemorrhoids. I don't want to sit for 12 hours. My knees are bad enough already. Yeah. Who is it? Whose permission are you looking for? Anyway, to say are you okay? Is it coming from the innermost or is it coming from the outermost, the head? Yeah, who's holding you hostage? Do you think this is what we are is demanding us to become it? And then making it super fucking hard? I mean, I think that sounds like, one of my roommates a long time ago. Some fucking sadistic character. Yeah? It does, doesn't it? Oh, yes. You made a big mistake. You separated from me. And, basically, you're saddled with an original sin already. So fucking, and then if you acquire a couple mortal sins along the way, you might as well just fucking become Mother Teresa. It's not going to matter anyway, but you better get on with it. There's going to have to do a lot of mea culpas. And I just think it's the head playing God, Jesus Christ. So if you love retreats, great, man. I would still go if I loved them. I was there for a seeming purpose. When I found that purpose was a misdirected thing, I stopped. Yeah. I have no opinion on it. It's great. Sometimes they have good food. I wouldn't go to Thailand. I'd stay away from there. But go to like one of the upper middle way retreat centers. They're nice. You get 3 gourmet meals, maybe some foot massages, eagle claw bathtubs. It's better than my room in my house. I want to stay there longer. Yeah? You're getting fed. No one's bothering you. It's great. But when I was at retreats, I thought I was going somewhere. I was meditating for 14 hours with the express hope of transcending where I thought I was. I was totally freaking completely out of it, really. Thinking I was so in it, I was completely out of it. And in that medium, it never dawned. I never heard about, hey, you are what you're looking for. Yeah, I heard more about you got to keep looking. Yes. And then, of course, it may not work. So then they start synthesizing. Then you have a silent retreat, but a little talking for an hour and throw some tantric fucking shit in there. Kayaking at 2. And it's always in Costa Rica or some beautiful place. Take a retreat in fucking Newark, New Jersey. See how long you stay there. Yeah, it's all nice, and everyone else is nice, and everyone has loving gazes, and we're not going anywhere. Yeah, I had this one. I'm just joking, but I have a little seriousness to it. I did this retreat up here in Northern California. We have a place called Spirit Rock. I know you've heard about it. Yeah, I used to call it the upper middle way because it was a nice, very nice, classy place. I was on a retreat there. I'd see the teacher in the morning, and then you're basically sitting and then finding places to roam, like graves, because there's all these hills, yeah? And at 6 o'clock, a big bell would ring, and very slowly all the cows would come to the trough, to eat every day. So about the 12th day I'm there, I get there early because I was grazing right near the building. So I'm in there first. As I walk in, there's like a big buffet line, yeah, and the food's there. But this time there was ice cream. Big thing of ice cream there. So I sat and I watched people walk in, and they came in with this beautiful look, and as soon as they saw the ice cream, you could see there went the 12 days of meditation, just right out. They rushed right up to the ice cream, took some before the dinner so they make sure they got some, or they doubled back super fast. The ice cream dominated the whole retreat. Yes, so, I mean, do you really believe what's here to be relied upon isn't on such a shaky foundation such as ourselves? Do you really think you're going to get tuned to vibrate and stabilize the vibration of the fucking harmonic chord of the universe? Give me a freaking break. You see what you're not, and then you find out you're already that which you're trying to become. Yes? And then become something else. Be a meditation teacher who doesn't meditate anymore. I'd fucking listen to someone like that. I would. I'd say, you meditated so much that you don't need to meditate anymore, I'm fucking with you. I'm signing up. I don't want to have someone who's been meditating 40 years. I see that as a failure, really. Why would I want to? He should be in the back of the class. So, yeah, I don't fucking do anything anymore. I like you. I'm practicing your stuff. I used to do martial arts, Tai Chi, and the great masters I met, they weren't doing shit. All they did was stand at the end. They weren't doing forms because the forms was to induce the mind to follow the form. As soon as the mind showed up, there was no need for form. They would just stand for 45 minutes or an hour gazing somewhere. Yeah? Most of them all ended up like that. They were never doing the form. They had their students showing you the form. Yeah, so show me a meditation teacher who doesn't meditate. I'll sign up for that. I will. Yeah. Yes. So that's the point. What is the greatest seeker? The one who doesn't seek anymore. I mean, you should listen to them, seriously. It doesn't have to be me, but listen to them. There may be a song that you feel that note's already in you, yeah? Because I saw it. Obviously, the sense of awareness is the base of our lives, yeah? The seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. There's the narration says, I'm the one who's seeing, but if you ask the head to describe how it starts to see and what it's doing before it's seeing, it just finds itself in a state, yeah, of onness, yes? It sort of backs into it, and then there's a claiming of it. But there's seeing, there's hearing, there's feeling, there's tasting, there's touching. There's something that's awake and alive. And it doesn't seem like I don't go to a seeing class every day. I don't. I wake up and I'm seeing. It doesn't seem like there's an on and off switch, really. It's just on, and it comes through this, on, yeah? And it doesn't demonstrate any thought or effort. It has never, because it's being what it is. I don't know what that is, but I know it's being what it is because there's no thought and effort in being what it is. And it really came up against me. Why would I think thought and effort would lead me to that which demonstrates no thought or effort? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah? Unless the God that I'm following is of a mental condition. Yeah? And I'm actually living in that image, that image of being a thing that doesn't want to be a thing. I want to get out of me, but I want to be there to enjoy it, yes? I just don't see it. So I could be wrong, and I'm not saying everyone else is wrong or right. I'm just putting it out there. That's, yeah. It's not a very good career plan, really. It isn't. Never has been. Because my success rate is no one showing up, really. It's true. I mean, I had a lady call me once. She'd been through it, every one of them, every non-duality person, whatever. She was up 13 hours a night, watching videos, spent over $1 million. I could hear her family begging her to be normal. On the other side of this door, she had it barricaded watching videos. She wanted to talk with me. I said, well, we'll probably only have one session. And I never heard from her again. I hope it helped because it was insanity on steroids. Yeah, insanity. 13 hours not sleeping, watching videos. It's just insane. So, yeah. You know what overrides all the messages is the one who hears the message, yeah? A beautiful message of peace and satisfaction can be an object of addiction. Yeah, the head will find a way of being addicted by it. Yes. So, yeah. So, any questions or sharing or whatever? I haven't made this a weekly thing because I think I'll be fired every week by Awakening Together. So I keep it an open-ended possibility. Yeah.
Glenda?
Hi, Paul. I love what you're saying. At the same time, I'm repelled by what you're saying. I I loved how you said about the retreat and the dessert line, people's eyes going to the desserts. I remember being on retreats, sitting for hours and hours, and then the nights they have dessert, trying to get ahead of everybody else and, hoard two desserts, and all my
Yeah.
spirituality was gone.
Yes. You were probably at the same one. I was there.
And, but I don't understand. What amazes me is that I say yes to everything you're saying. And then at the same time, there's this big no, too.
Well, yeah, because there's two voices going on. There's a silent one that sort of receives it like a pond receiving a pebble, and then there's the mental state that doesn't like this idea. Yes?
Mhm. It's like,
Yeah.
don't
Well,
take
to
that
the
away from me. It's like something is screaming, you can't take that away from me.
and no one's trying to. That's the see. That's the way it says. That's what's happening, but it ain't. Yeah. This is like cohabiting with two aspects of what we are. Yeah. There's the mental aspect that lasts for 70, 80 years maybe, and then there's the everlasting aspect. Yes. They're not in a battle. That's drawn up by one side. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you can be moved and be repelled at the same time. What's moved is the unmovable timelessness, and what's repelled is that product of time.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I see it. We used to have a story, if you don't mind, about the snake. And the snake every year goes through a process. It doesn't do it, it goes through a process of molting. Yeah, the skin molts off the snake. So here's a snake, and then the snake has a mental activity. Let's say it's rooted in this example in the skin. Yeah. Now the skin is talking a lot in the narration of the snake's life, and it's assuming and it lives by the assumption that it's the snake, the skin. So the skin gets a feeling that the molting season's going to arrive soon and goes through into abject terror because it's afraid when it falls off, yeah, the snake continues actually. Yeah, so his whole story is completely threatened by this activity. Yeah, from the snake's point of view, it's hallelujah because it's going to get new scales. Yeah, they're going to be lighter, they're going to be shinier, they're going to attract female snakes. It'll travel lighter over the rocks and shit like that. But the skin's reaction is fucking put on a lot of moisturizer. Watch out for that thing. Don't go that rock. Da 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 da. Buy a better suit. Attract those babes. Make money. You'll attract the babes somehow or another. Yes? So basically, the thing is, the habit of interest leans to listen to that megaphone. Yes? You have to have an acquired taste to hear the silence. Yes? Hopefully, you start being attracted to the silence by all the bullshit that came about by listening to the megaphone. Tell you the truth. Yeah. It's like a crazy person. If you put him on the stand, you don't have to rebut anything. He's going to fucking show at the world how what an asshole he is. Yes? I had it with my girlfriend's ex. Yeah. They brought me into court. I was supposedly a cult member, not even the leader. I was sort of upset with that. They brought me into court. Unfortunately, the name Zen Bitch Slap was part of his strategy, and that I was threatening the condition of something. And when they brought him into I got the kids are here. I can't be saying it so loud. When they brought him on the stand, he revealed everything. And I didn't have to say shit. Yes, this is the whole point. If you The idea of non duality will bring into stark contrast these misassumptions. Yeah? They may get louder, but you'll see it. Yes? It's a lot. Actually, if you see better or worse, it's much worse when it's running you from the weed, so to speak. When you bring it out and you see what the head is and what it ain't, which is it isn't you. Yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful moment that will constantly be built on if you have the warnings, because it revives itself. And in a second, you'll have the reflection of you being a lion and walk away from the waterhole and start thinking you're a sheep again. Yes, just the way it goes. Yes. What? See, we wanted to write a new book. What happens after you leave the waterhole, when you see the reflection of the old lion, and you've been thinking you're a sheep for years, and you see that you're a lion. But what happens when the old lion takes off and you start walking back to the sheep herd? The mental state is going to say, I had this incredible experience of being a lion as a sheep. It will. And if you don't understand that, you'll be looking from it. I'm telling you. Yeah. Because the mental state is still alive and well throughout all your peak experiences. It may be knocked or stunned into submission, but it regroups in time. And it will claim the epiphany, it will claim the awakening, it will claim whatever it comes in contact with. And if you don't know it, you'll slip back into that familiar glove in a way. And you'll be living an interpretation based on being the glove when you're the hand. Yeah. Yeah. You'll be thinking you're an awake glove where there are no awake gloves. Yes, there's only hands. Yeah. But try. You want to be, what better way to get over trying to be an awake glove is trying to be an awake glove. That's usually the speediest way. No one's going to listen to any fucking sense, so just let the system fail. Seek your way into reality, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, it's like with recovery. Sometimes you don't want to keep people from their bottoms, yeah, because the life is the best teacher. You would never wish it on anyone, but if that's the only way things are going to change, hallelujah, fucking get loaded. Stop calling me. I'm not giving you any more money, and there you go. Yeah, leave him out to dry, and then something happens. Yeah, instead of trying to massage it and cajole it. Yeah, it's yeah. So I think a lot of people see through seeking by seeking a lot. That's how they come about. So it always has value because it showed you that it's failed. Yeah. I hope you can read the tea leaves. It may be obvious. You can look at it and see. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, the sheep and the lion, the idea is that this thing that's talking and saying it's repelled by this usually gets most of the attention. And so the resonance you feel by what's happening will be muted, and you'll have a story about who was the messenger to hide the message. Really, yeah, happens a lot. Yeah, so it's okay, honey. You're
Rhoda,
that anyway. Hmm?
Rhoda has a question.
Rhoda.
I'm sorry. What I notice that when I come to satsang and I listen to you live, there's an intense amount of confusion and nothing but laughter all at the same time. But when I listen to you on a podcast and I'm just out riding a bike or going for a walk or whatever, there's no confusion at all. And I don't, right now, I feel like this desperate grasping to understand. I feel that happening. And every time I just
It's
kind of
show,
go back in the
it's
chair,
highlighting what you're not, honey. This is exactly the point. It's bringing out what you're not, so you can see it. Yeah, that which is grasping is not you. Get to see it in its glory. Yeah, really. And then also rent a stationary bike. Bring it in, and while you're doing the Zoom, you'll be on the bike.
there you go.
There goes the confusion.
So,
But you see, the great understanding of non-duality is it brings out the misunderstandings, yeah, so that you can see them, yeah. If you keep using misunderstandings to understand stuff, it's going to be very confusing. When you give up that drive to understand, that's the true understanding, yes. The true understanding is you're not equipped to understand shit that's above your pay scale, yeah. You are already that. Yeah. So, yeah, I went through it all. I saw, I went to satsangs. Some things really moved me, man, like avalanches seemed to change the whole interior of my life. And it produced a gratitude to the point I flew to India to see this guy, Ramesh Balsekar, because this book I read, Who Cares, really moved me. And not only was it a novel idea and direction, it was like a pause. A lot of things that were said paused the whole activity of selfing. Yeah, and so I was moved to look into this idea. Went to India, sat with him, went down to where Ramana lives, heard a lot of people. They're there usually in January, who I didn't really know that it was happening. I went there, heard different people, and it was there that after that, I never asked another question. Yeah. So it was just a day I knew that was it. It was unspoken yes. And then basically I stopped seeing people. And when I went to a guy, and he was from the Zen lineage, and he was using an old saying in Zen, which is, I'm like a man standing by the river selling water. Yeah. Well, and he says it's even funnier than that. I'm a man standing in the river selling water. I left and I never went back to that river because I never left it. Yeah. So, yeah, I believe that there is a finality at the end of the mental street. Yeah. Where there is a being convinced. There is. That something becomes like an unspoken yes, or was already always, but was muffled by surface chatter. And in my experience, the last answer. Completely have a huge faith in it. That's a strong possibility. And man, in the world of answers and questions, the last answer is fucking awesome, especially about a topic I thought to be so important. I've been trying to get out of me since I was 6 years old by reading Edgar Allan Poe and science fiction, then drugs, then spirituality, then back to drugs, and then back to spirituality. Yes. I've been trying to get out of this place forever. And I had no idea I can't escape from an imaginary place. I had no idea until I did. But that idea, like the cloth was dyed. It doesn't run in the wash of day-to-day living. It was dyed. And it wasn't because that was so. That's because I was convinced. And why there's nothing keeping any of us from that. Yeah? Yeah? That's when you drive through the little stop sign permissions that the head has. You just drive through them. You don't get pulled over. Bigfoot doesn't come out of the sky and squish you. No. Yeah. You see that there's something playing God right where you are in the mental realm. It's playing God. It's telling you how you are, how you're going to be, how they are, how they're going to be, what's going to happen, what did happen, what will happen. It doesn't have a freaking clue. It just rambles on and on and on, presenting tons of false evidence to see if you'll swallow any of it. And then you do, then you got a subscription. It keeps feeding you that false evidence. It does, yeah. So, yeah. Clarity isn't earned or acquired, yeah. It's not an attribute that you acquire. It's the basis of what's going on here. part of the nature of what's going on here is clarity, yeah, because it's empty. There's nothing that could obscure the seeing of what's seeing, because everything is inherently empty, yes? So it's pristinely clear. That's of our nature. That's not something that we acquire, yeah? Like the old Zen thing where the third patriarch of Zen, the guy who was going to win the prize, says Zen is like polishing the mirror, and the other guy says, "What mirror?" You know, there's no mirror to be polished, and if you're there polishing the mirror, all you see is you in the freaking mirror polishing the mirror. Yeah, the clarity of the mirror is empty. It doesn't need your reflection to make it clearer. So, you know, I mean, I tried my hardest. I did. I was in Burma. I was so crazy, I gave Hoang Po books to Burmese monks who knew how to speak English, trying to set them straight. Yeah. I saw Sai Baba, and I had my Zen books on my head, and he'd come by and bless me. I didn't never even knew Sai Baba. I just heard about him, so I decided to go there to see him by myself, and lived in his community for a month. And I found all that they were looking for was a private interview of Sai Baba. Their whole society was seeing him. And so they'd have this huge group, open area with 10,000 people, and he'd walk up through it twice a day, 7:30 in the morning, 5:30. And everyone, they actually had talked to his inner circle and got a concession. And so they would try to recruit you, because if someone who had the one color bandana was picked to see Sai Baba, everyone with the same color would be able to see Sai Baba. So you would come into the compound, and they would try to enlist you to get you in their group, because the better the odds. Yeah, it was insane, but it was great. They lived, and while they weren't seeing him, they were telling about all his miracles. It was incredible. And man, I loved living like that. It was nice. I worked in the kitchen, I did service. It was fun. Yeah, but did I leave there thinking I'm blowing it? No, no. I checked it out, and I moved because it was important to move, and I stopped when I stopped. Yeah, so it doesn't matter when you stop; it's the stopping. Yeah, because you didn't miss anything. All the longing, all the missing is of time, and we're not of time. Yeah, when this dawns on you, it informs you. It's always been this way. So really, all that I thought was happening really wasn't actually happening. Yeah, because nothing has changed this fact. Nothing. So there's no rush. It's like being on the same plane. You don't have to rush up to the front. We're all going to land at the same time, so to speak. Yeah. And then stand there for an hour. I never understood why people do that on planes. They stand for an hour. No one's getting out. I just don't get it. Really. I mean, it's insane. So, yeah. And wherever you are, you're being used beautifully. Yeah. So, yeah, I joke around a lot, but I have a lot of respect for everyone here. Yeah. And I just want you to hear different possibilities, and maybe the shoe will fit you. Yeah. Better than other shoes you're trying to fit your foot in. Yeah. Maybe it'll work. And I'm hopefully reflecting that it's okay to stop. Yes. It is. It's not that calling may not be from the divine. It may come from a mental aspect. Yes. Because I realized I thought I had a big desire to transcend, but once I sensed a peace and a contentment and satisfaction, I had no interest in any of that activity. So basically, it was really the absence of something that was motivating the activity. Once the satisfaction and contentment took hold, I could care less. So it wasn't like it wasn't a noble calling, really. So yeah, I'm happy though to be here. I don't know how I got to awakening together, really. It sort of goes against the whole premise. Together, who? And awakening, who? But here we are. I get the humor of it, don't you? Yeah, I think it's sort of funny, and I have a lot of respect for whoever's asked me to show up here. I do. Thank you so much for putting up with me, my little antics. Yeah. So I'll be here next Tuesday, hopefully, unless I get my cancellation. Don't
Well,
call me, just text me.
I
Yeah,
hope it- so he can remind
I
you.
don't want to go through the rejection experience. All right, so that's it for today, eh? Oh no, we have a few minutes. Let's go ahead.
oh, I'm wondering if you could speak more about the watering hole when you were talking about like when you have these
Yeah,
big glimpses and then you go back to
yeah.
whatever, I guess you called it the watering hole. And then that
Well, the
thing that,
one is from the first video we did, because one of the parables I heard from reading, maybe it was Ramana, was this story about a lion, a lioness, and her cub, and then the lioness gets killed, and the cub is orphaned, and the cub is roaming around, doesn't know how to take care of itself, doesn't have any sense of itself, and it sees a herd of sheep, and it starts moving towards the sheep. Now the sheep knows it's a lion, so they get a little worried, but then they realize the lion doesn't even know it's a lion, and he gets ingratiated into the herd, and he starts living like a sheep, yeah? Chewing cud, sitting around the campfire talking about who's going to be the next sweater next year and shit. And he's not feeling that great, but he doesn't know any better. And he's looking at sheep actually to eat them, but he's thinking, I want to get a date or something. And so he marries another sheep. They have weird looking kids, but they rationalize it away. And he just lives. And then one day, he's, chewing cud with the rest of the herd. And he's up there. He's like an elder now because he's a big fucking sheep. And so a lion comes down into the savannah, an old lion, looking to kill something, and he starts chasing the herd, and he sees out of the corner of his eye another lion, and he thinks it's joining the hunt, but then he realizes that it's running with the sheep. So he veers off, catches the young lion. The young lion rolls on its back and says, "Oh, Mr. Lion, please don't eat me. I'm just a humble sheep." Now the older lion's pretty perplexed, but just grabs it and drags it to the waterhole and sticks both their heads over. And the young lion sees the reflections and gets it. Yeah, I'm a lion. Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered if it was 15 years of thinking it was a sheep or 5 seconds of thinking of a sheep. The recognition would be immediate. I'm a lion. Yeah, just by seeing the reflections of him, of the old one in him. Now, that's where the parable ends, but I don't believe it needs a second book. What happens after the young lion leaves the waterhole? Because the young lion walks away from the waterhole and the sheep programming kicks in and tells a story about having this incredible experience of being a lion as a sheep. Yes? And the sheep is like a speed bump that constantly is there. Yes? You're not going to process yourself out of the sheep. That would just be more sheeping. Yes? So most people are hearing a message about being a lion as a sheep. So what I found to be more important than the message of being a lion is to see you're not a sheep. Yeah. To see that there's a programming that's very, very fast in time that's going to arrive without any noticing of it and state a fact that's not a fact, which is you're a sheep. Yeah. And so now the lion lives as if it's a sheep to such an extreme point that it tries to become a lion as a sheep, all the while being a lion. Yes? I would say that's the ironic joke of non duality right now. Yes? The lion is seemingly forgotten that it's a lion, and it remembers that it's a sheep all day. It doesn't, the head does, but it has fallen under that trance. So for all intents and purposes, it's living like it's a sheep. Yeah. And non-duality is attempting to negate that fundamental mistake. Yeah. And say not two. So there's no lion and sheep. There's no sheep. In this case, you just want to see what you're not, and then you'll find out what you are. Yeah? You won't have to look for it. It's not like, all right, I looked for what I'm not. Now I'm ready to look for what I am. No, there's just looking at what you're not. There's no looking for what you are. You are that. Yes? You are what's looking. So you're not using looking to find it. Yeah? That's the beauty of non duality, in my experience. Yeah. Not in my experience, the state that seems to be the inherent one. Yeah. Yes, that was good.
That was perfect. And we can end there. Wow, that was really beautiful. Thank you, Paul. And we'd love to have you back next week
Well,
and the
thank you.
week after and the week after. I
Yes.
want to
And let's
remind everyone that
again up
uh,
here.
to if you enjoy his teachings, Paul Hedderman, to donate. He has his own website, zen@bitchslap.com, and you just /donate. And I put a link in the chat box, but I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.